All right, everyone, how are you? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for stopping by. On the show this week, Lisa and I had the pleasure of talking with musician, actor, director, author, and founder of Mantorship, Evan Seinfeld. Man, we talked about everything. His time on the groundbreaking series Oz, Biohazard's latest single, Forsaken, with that killer lineup, and their upcoming album. He got into mentorship. What is mentorship? We'll sit here and listen, and Evan's going to tell you all about it. Very interesting, very powerful, and it's going to help a lot of men out there. All right, guys, this was a lot of fun. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you
Tell
are.
everybody who you are. Okay. Well, I'm Evan Seinfeld, and I am a man, 57 and a half years strong and experienced on this spinning rock hurling through space wearing this meat suit. I feel like I've lived 10 lives. And, my story starts I was born in 1967 in Brooklyn. Another time, another place, different culture, different society. And I'll relate back to this later when we talk about mentorship because, where we formulate our ideas is usually during our formidable years. And growing up in the neighborhood that they made the movie Goodfellas about, that didn't include like everything else that was going on. That was like one story, the idea of what a real man is to a young boy could be really fucking confusing.
Yeah.
And, my life was nothing like, but I always related to the Bronx Tale movie because, the young kid sees the guy with the Cadillac and the big house and the beautiful woman on his arm. And then he sees the regular working guy struggling.
Yeah.
And how does he formulate an opinion of what is the goal? What is success? What is life about? Okay, 57 and a half years in and just finished writing a book. I could tell you that life is about the journey, not the destination. It's about the way you do things, not what you do as much. It's about how you touch other people and the energy, the connection you make with other people and the impact you have on the universe in whatever small thing you do, it's ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
So, I just, when I was a kid, I dressed up as Kiss and I wanted to be a rock star from the time I was born. And I have ADHD and that wasn't a thing in those days. You were just bad kid. So I had a very confusing time in school. I was really the teachers were mad at me. They were like, you might be the smartest kid in the class and you do the dumbest things in the class, and I hear things like this all my life and I'm starting to think I'm neurodivergent in some way. And sometimes that's a curse and a gift at the same time. There's always like a superpower to it. And I was never really sure what it was. And, when on your life journey, we talk a lot in mentorship about purpose. Men are often we define ourselves by our purpose, our belief set, and the life we build around ourselves, which is like a construct of our mind, that this is my house and this is my family and this is my job and this is my car and these are my routines and this is all that my life is. And there's no further possibility here. I have a limiting self-belief. And growing up in like blue collar Brooklyn, wasn't a lot of people with really big dreams. People hope to get a job with benefits, make a couple of kids, raise them right, move on, get to Florida while you could still walk.
Yeah.
That's got, and that never seemed like an option or appealing to me. Although I took the New York City fireman's test and got called to go in. I was the proudest moment of my life. And I was on tour during Urban Discipline. And I told the lieutenant, hey man, thanks for the call, but give the job to somebody who needs it right now. I don't need it,
Yeah.
I was playing I was playing on the main stage at the Dynamo Open Air Festival to 100,000 people. And when I said jump, everybody jumped.
Yeah.
I worked so hard at like like determined to make it in some way that felt like success to me. And at first it was, we just wanted to get, 50 people to CBGB's. And, we just wanted to, our dream was to play at L'Amour's in Brooklyn, a little club, that was my
Yeah.
dream. Someday we're going to be up there. We might even be just the first band on the stage, but we're going to be up there. The same stage where Metallica played, and, our career, I don't have to go into the music career, we built a real organic groundswell following by creating our own sound, an organic scene. And we were like a hybrid between, we were guys with metal playing chops who were part of the New York hardcore beginnings. And we all loved punk and we all loved hip hop. And when we started the band, I was a teen, I was probably 18, 19. And me and Bobby and Mio, rest in peace, original drummer before the albums, the
Yeah.
guy who helped put this thing together. Without Anthony, none of this happens. Pete Steele gave us the name Biohazard. And rest in peace, Peter. I'm grateful to be alive and even be here. But, I never wanted to be a singer. Like I love to sing, but I was a metal guy. I thought a singer was Rob Halford,
Yeah.
somebody who could sing like operatic and stately and Chris Cornell or singers. I'm more like a blunt instrument. You know, um, and I remember we were auditioning singers, and Biohazard felt like a gang more than a band in 1987. We were just out in the street looking for trouble every night and then playing music, writing songs about it the next day. And getting singers like, this guy's like not even good enough to hang out with.
Pause for a sec.
Much less stand in front of an audience of people being the voice of this. So I said, you know what? I got ideas for the vocals I've been writing. I'll just sing for now, and I'll kind of just sing like I'll kind of rap it. So this way, it's within like my range of what's easy for me to do. Because for me, it was about making it funky,
Yeah.
and people might not understand that. They hear this brutal, hardcore metal band, but if you isolated the drums, it's funky. We're hip hop disco guys from Brooklyn, and we make people dance. It's what we do. It's a different kind of dance that they do. But we ended up getting managed by Russell Simmons and Leor Cohen from Def Jam, Rush Artist Management, Scott Koenig, rest in peace. And the story continues for 25 years from there. 10 studio albums, 5 million albums we sold. We played about 4,000 concerts over that time in about 75 or 80 countries. And we've gotten to share the stage with Metallica, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, like my Kiss, the bands I grew up idolizing. And then we've got to play with David Bowie. We got to play with Radiohead and Smashing Pumpkins and just Red Hot Chili Peppers. We got to play right before the Red Hot Chili Peppers in front of 80,000 people in Denmark. I'm gonna cry because I got to do all these things in my life, And when you're a young man and you start to get some fame, and you can really easily, it's like you see these young rappers nowadays. We don't really have rock stars like we used to, You see these young rappers and they can't handle the success. They can't handle the fame. They can't handle the attention. And it must be much harder now to be a young man with that kind of attention or a young woman with that kind of attention with social media, because this was pre-social media.
Yeah.
And we were signed to Warner Brothers Records. We were signed to it was just unreal. We were being flown around the world in planes, and your meetings at 4. We have a meeting with Madonna before you because she's putting out her new album on Warner Brothers also, and it was just what a bizarre ride. And in the mid '90s, we caught fire with a couple of videos on MTV. Punishment, Shades of Grey, Tales from the Hard Side was picked up by Beavis and Butthead of all places.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers Beavis and Butthead, at you're at least late 40s.
Yeah. At
Otherwise,
the time, that's what made or didn't make a band.
yeah, they didn't just play us; they decided we were cool.
Yeah.
And and then we did a bunch of collaborations with a bunch of hip hop artists. Onyx, we did Slam, and we did Judgment Night, the movie soundtrack. And you know, for sure, along the way, I got lost a bunch of times in my head. You start to believe you're the person who's performing on the stage. You're not just a person. And now in my later years of my life where I meditate a lot, I can recognize the difference between myself and my ego. But living with it as one can be a really difficult place if you don't know that. What else? I mean, my life's been pretty, on the work side. I was one of the lead actors on the HBO series Oz
Yeah.
for 6 seasons, and this was really cutting edge. This was the world's first cable series.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know that. Before The Sopranos, before
Yeah.
Sex and the City, this was the first. It won every award for like changing the game on how we're going to watch television in the future. And it's really true today. This is what a series is now.
Yeah.
It's not what Happy Days was when I was a
No.
kid.
It was the first cable series without commercials. And at the time I was a big fan from episode 1.
Me
And
too.
when
I
I
was a
saw
fan
you in
before.
it, when you came out, I was like, that's the guy from Biohazard, you know? Uh
It was weird how that happened too, because
Yeah.
Dean Winters, who played O'Reilly,
mhm.
who's now the most successful commercial actor in
The insurance guy,
America.
right?
He's the Allstate Mayhem guy.
Yeah.
Is one of my dearest brothers. Is like just his name, and I get all fuzzy and warm. He loves music. He's a music lover like me. Um, and we both love house music and rock music. And over the years, he and I used to go to Miami together and dance all night, and just party and have fun. But before I knew him, my A&R guy at Roadrunner Records, Monty Connor, his wife Kelly is an attorney who represents actors, and she happens to represent like the top 15 guys that were on that show. And at the time, these guys were kind of young, unknown actors: Christopher Maloney,
Maloney, yeah.
B.D. Wong, J.K. Simmons, who won the Oscar for Whiplash.
Yeah.
My acting reel is like the guy from Biohazard. Yo, what the fuck you doing? And then J.K. Simmons, who won the Oscar, going, I'm being really serious right now. My acting is superior to yours. It makes you look foolish when you stand next to me. That's okay. My character's supposed to be a little dumb. So kind of works out. You can find if you go to YouTube and you type in Jazz Hoyt, Jazhoyt, Oz scenes, there's all these things that I forget because I was on the show for 6 seasons. And I sometimes forget, oh yeah, there was that time when we buried Luke Perry alive behind a cinder block wall. And then I say something really snarky before I put the last brick. We brick him in alive. It was a humbling experience to work with. Like, fuck, man. We were directed by Steve Buscemi, Chaz Palminteri, Kathy Bates. Every week they would bring people. This is Gore Vidal. He's gonna, like all these kind of highbrow. It was very New York City centric,
Yeah.
and exposed me to a lot of culture in fashion, theater, like really the patrons of the arts were behind this in a way. Tom Fontana created this show with Barry Levinson, and I was grateful to be a guest star one time. And they had other guest stars. They had Peter Criss from Kiss,
Yeah.
2 episodes. They had Method Man from Wu-Tang Clan, like 5, 6 episodes. They had Tretch from Naughty by Nature, all guys I'm friends with. And like I kind of found my way to like become a recurring cast member by making my character how they asked me to, or guess, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing about that show that was so interesting was that, you know, if you have a, I don't know, if you a romance show, Desperate Housewives, you need to have at least 2 or 3 sexy encounters per episode, otherwise it's boring, right? Well, what happens in this fictitious prison is people kill each other and fuck each
Yeah.
other up. So um, they found I was good with my own stunts, and they were like, you know, you're a really good killer. They gave me a scene where I had to kill somebody, and they go, we're gonna. It's a lot more killing in your future, young man. And that means because every episode when they would release the script, we would all like just stop where we were and just fucking flip through it and stop talking to each other because you might die in this. They killed 3 people, 4 people an episode, and they never had a problem to kill one of the main stars
Yeah.
just because they thought it would be a great plot twist. Now on Oz, the guy might come back as a ghost later or some shit, you know. You might
Yeah,
see him
you
again,
were
but he's
seeing
not
the
going to
devil
be
for a
his
while.
character unless it's a flashback. So, you know, I made it to the last lap.
Oh,
Just make it through, you know, do
yeah.
the job. And I kind of have a blue collar work ethic. I like to work on something. I like to be part of a team, a project. And it was really humbling because when you're a musician in a band, even when the band like Biohazard is a true democracy, everybody has input, equal say on everything from the music to the decisions, the business to where we're going to play and with who. Um, you still feel like you're the boss because it's your music, it's your idea, and you set the how you decide when you're going to work and how long and what you want to do. But when you're part of a production, Oz was the biggest cast in the history of television. It was 300, 400 people there every day.
Yeah.
And because at lunchtime in the prison, you want it to look real. You need, so they would do this. It was in Manhattan in the Chelsea markets. I made a lot of really good friends out of that. And I kind of learned a little bit about how you could channel your creativity differently. And I really wanted to continue acting, and I auditioned for a lot of things. I almost got that Johnny Depp movie Blow. I got called back a couple of times for the original Sons of Anarchy cast. And then I had met my second wife, Tara Patrick, who was in the adult business. And I spent a lot of years as an entrepreneur in that business. And for sure, in these days, the early 2000s, Hollywood was super uptight. And first, I definitely felt like I was blacklisted from Hollywood because I was in the fucking porn business, you know. And I don't really talk about it much. I figure let me address it so nobody thinks I don't want to talk about it. I'm not ashamed of anything I did in that business. You know, in 2016, I built a platform that was one of the main competitors of OnlyFans before OnlyFans was a thing. I did this with the guys from Inked magazine, and we were in Forbes 5, 10 times because in the pandemic, when everybody was sick and dying and lost their job, the only news story in the world besides that seemed to be, oh, by the way, everybody without a job is kind of doing porn from home now, and we're kind of giving everybody a pass that it's okay now. Um, this was a chapter in my life. I've been married 3 times, uh, 3 amazing marriages that no longer exist. Uh, Beautiful memories, you know.
Yeah.
Try to remember the best of everything. I have a son. He's 30. His name's Sam Solomon Seinfeld, and he's an artist. And you'll be hearing his music really soon. He's got an album finished. It's kind of like a dark, dreary. I don't know. It's like an emo typo negative or something.
Okay.
And he started out as a rapper.
Mm.
And it's interesting, but he's my best friend, my son Sam. He travels with me with the band. He's the tour band. He's the band assistant. He's the stage production manager sometimes. He's setting up the stage. He's singing background vocals. He's making all the video content on the stage. He's editing it and making the things and managing the social media for the band. He's getting, all the band members to, approve something, which is, if you've ever dealt with a band, a group of artists, it's like herding cats, every
Familiar.
manager, I know, and, I was speaking facetiously and to all listeners,
Yeah.
if you've never worked with a band, it's like, if there's four guys in the band, it's four guys with their complete own ideas,
Yeah.
and their own agendas and their own, and plus, what really happened that was interesting in my life was after my third divorce, I was living in LA. By this is like 2020, and I was now my third divorce. OnlyFans kind of took over the space. I had become depressed. I was having a lot of anxiety. I was feeling really lost in my life. Biohazard had broken up for me, and I played for a year with other musicians, and they called it quits. And I never really thought about Biohazard again. I'm the kind of person who's like a shark. I'm always going forward. My gills need the backflow of the water. When I send somebody, I'm WhatsApping with somebody, I go to send them a sticker. My sticker is a shark, a cute, gentle, happy shark. He's a friendly shark, and I think of myself in that way. I'm not a person who dwells in the past. I'm kind of like more prone to the anxious focus on the future. And I was really lost. And I've always fancied myself a spiritual person. I was in AA for 30 years, sober from drugs and alcohol for a long time. Became a weed smoker in like 2018 or 2017. So I claim myself as California sober, Cali sober. And I found myself at what must be called a midlife crisis or an impasse. Okay, you're 50 something, and you kind of did everything you thought you wanted to do, and none of that is happening anymore. And you kind of entered into lots of things that you thought were forever, but as life shows us, the only thing constant is change, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes even a guy like me who has seemingly endless new ideas, as a guy with ADHD does, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was out of ideas. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was having health problems. And my best friend, Granville, was diagnosed with cancer and it was going to kill him in a month. And he was on the show Odds with me. He was one of the best actors on the show, Granville Adams. Look him up. He played the number 2 Muslim alongside Eamon Walker, who played Saeed. He was Sharif. And I was called to be with him while he died and to help his family and his wife. And I found meaning and purpose in helping others when I had no meaning for myself left. And, nobody feels bad for the guy who's been a rock star all his life, and I wasn't looking for sympathy for it from anybody, but men, we're really lonely sometimes. We don't check in. We don't share our feelings. We hold everything in until it feels like too much. Because not only do we have to do life like women do, Lisa, we have to provide and protect for everybody on top of it. And guys my age think if we ask for help, we're weak and we're a pussy. And if we show any feelings or emotions, we're weak and we're a pussy. Older guys in my neighborhood would smack me and go, "What are you, a fucking girl?" As if that was an insult.
Yeah.
No, and stop crying. Don't you ever fucking cry. Okay, I never cried again. I was like 7, And during the 2 years after I separated from my wife, I'd say a year and a half, I I was I needed to soul search, but I didn't know how. I didn't know where to look. And this is when men get in trouble. This is when men become part of the 80% of all suicide is men. And this is when the new statistic that emerged in 2025, this is the most fucking shocking thing I've ever heard in some ways. The number one cause of death for all men under 50 globally is suicide. That was not a thing in 2024 or ever. So we are trending in the wrong direction here, and it's skewing younger and younger. I wasn't thinking about this. I was just trying to save myself.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to write a book, and people were always like, you should write a book about all the wild stories. And I'm like, for what? Whenever somebody writes those books, their career ends. I was like, let somebody write a book about me when I'm gone. I'm going to give my son the rights. I told him he could use all the videos from my iPhone, from the beginning of the iPhone, and he can make a movie, you know. Anyways, during that time, I was going on my 50th birthday. I visited Tulum, Mexico, with my third wife, Lupe, and I fell in love with the place. I felt something here, like an energy. And look, I'm from Canarsie. I lived in Flatbush. I'm not like a hippie with a magic carpet, and I don't have a flowy robe. Although sometimes in Tulum, I put on a flowy robe. I feel a connection to nature here. I feel a sense of grounding here. A meteor landed here. There are pyramids here. People call this one of the spiritual vortexes of the world. And because of it, it attracts a huge conscious community of healers and spiritual people who've dedicated their life to wellness and mindfulness and practices that I was never exposed to in my life. And me, what's my superpower? Okay, I work really hard at anything I want to do, and I'm a good leader. I'm good at especially among a group of men. Drop me off in the jungle, drop me off anywhere, and put 20 guys in a fucking cage. I'll probably be the first guy who goes to the biggest guy. Yo, man, pick me up on your shoulders. Why? Just do it. Okay, he's going to listen to me. I've now established that I want to be heard, and I'm willing to speak to everybody. And he picks me up. And this is a metaphorical situation. Okay, guys, there's 20 of us here, and we're all in this cage together. What do we want to do here? We should get organized. I got this from my father, who's a teacher, an educator, a professor, and my father ran summer camps for kids. So I always saw this very clearly on how he did it. It made sense to me, which is how I ended up being the front man for Biohazard. I'd like to get up and speak to people, especially if I have something important to say. And our music, the ethos of our music was overcoming. We were the underdog. We were the everyman's band. And we always were the most down to earth. We were always told, in the early days that we would hang out with the kids after the show and stay all night and sign shit and take pictures and go to their clubhouse and go to their party and play. We would play again unannounced at their secret squat in the streets of Argentina. And the kids don't remember the big concert. They remember the secret show.
Yeah.
And this becomes the legacy, right? And what I've tried my best to do, and I work at today, is, seeing that all the good things in my life stem from authenticity. And every time I'm trying to do something for the wrong reason, fails miserably. And so knowing all that, I moved down to Tulum and I decide I'm going to write a book documenting my process. This is like 50 Cent had Get Rich or Die Trying. This is Save Your Life or Die Trying. Because I had nothing left in the tank. And like I see pictures of myself at this exact time, and there was such an unsettledness in me. Like I could visibly see it in my face, like a constant, like a feeling of like worry, of like doom, like the world is caving in around you. And I know people know that feeling, but rarely do men share it or feel like there's a safe place to share it without being judged, without fear of being embarrassed or feeling like maybe you're going to be laughed at.
Yeah.
And a lot of men would choose to kill themselves rather than have to maybe feel embarrassed that they need help. But like, check it out. The first instinct of survival is to ask for help. Somebody help me. But we kind of think, men, we're fucked up. So what happened was I started my process. I moved to Mexico. I said, sold everything. I came here with a bag of clothes, a guitar, and a laptop. And I just rented a place. I had a consulting gig that was paying me really well, so I could afford to figure this out. Well, I did my work, which wasn't very time consuming. Full. And I started saying the only way out is in. And when I say out of the gilded cage that we build for ourselves, because you construct this idea of this is my life. And when things get upset, and they do, we become very uncomfortable. We panic. I'm losing my house. I'm getting divorced. I thought I was really attached to the idea that this was permanent.
Yeah.
As if the sky was falling around me. Why do you act surprised? The divorce rate is like 75%. You got a 1 in 4 chance that you're not going to be sitting in my men's circle crying about your divorce, 2 years from now. 1 in 4. And looking to that, you're going to probably have to give money to somebody for a long time, maybe. Anyway, the point is, I started rituals. I started meditation. I started learning about affirmations. I started rereading The Power of Now, agreements, and all of the things that ever touched my heart, and reading some new books. And I started formulating the idea that I could build a program for men. The book is meant to be a guide for men to find the truth inside of themselves, connect to their purpose, passion via self-development. So I said, I'm just going to work on myself. I moved here and I would go to yoga for 90 minutes a day in Holistica, which is the top yoga studio, like here, and teacher was so difficult. And I got to the point that I started teaching yoga. And there's an effect on you when you do yoga 90 minutes a day over a year or 2 years. It changes your mindset. Yoga, the idea of yoga is the union of mind, body, and spirit. And yoga is based around peace. The first like principle that I learned in yoga is ahimsa. It means nonviolence, cause no harm. Sounds idealistic, but if everybody practiced that, there'd be no war. Nobody would be talking about who's bombing who, because a yogi would never bomb anybody. You just wouldn't. So let's turn everybody into a yogi. I want to change the world. I have big ideas. So I got about 60 pages into my book, 50 pages, and I saw it was really powerful. And I was biting off big ideas to introduce to who might read my book, which I believe is targeted as every man in the world would benefit from something in this book. And they're not all my ideas. A lot of times they're things that I heard somebody else say. And I might even reference that Sadhguru says this, and I believe it to be true. And I think this would help all men. I'm not saying I have any of the answers. I didn't go to school for psychology. I just lived a really difficult life that I made difficult for myself most of the time
Yeah.
because my ideas were other. Uh, a lot of times, men were living out of alignment with our truth. This is when we get in trouble. My dream is to be a surfing instructor, but I live in the mountains. You know, really, I love to have lots of free time and play guitar and uh, and smoke weed. But I have a city job, so I can't smoke weed, and I work a lot of overtime, so I never play my guitar. But that's okay. It's good enough. We settle. And when we settle on 5 or 6 or 8 things, it starts to pile up and we grow resentment for our own life and we don't see a way out. We don't want to unravel it because we put roots down deep in it. So, you know, Eckhart Tolle always says the source of all human suffering is wanting and attachment.
Yeah.
So I get 60 pages into my book. I invite the 10 guys that I know here in Tulum. I've been here like 2 months. It's 2020. It's like New Year's 22. It's 21. New Year's Eve 21.
Okay.
To turning 22. And I tell the guys, I lure them in with food. I got a grandmother who cooks from Oaxaca, and she's making guacamole and everything. And I say, I want to read from my book a little bit, and I want you guys to give me some feedback. So we sit in a circle on my rooftop in the jungle. It's silent. I read a little bit. I'm nervous because I'm having imposter syndrome. Evan Seinfeld never had imposter syndrome. My parents are school teachers. My mother's an English literature major. I'm so feeling like I'm going to be judged that my book is, it's dumb or it's not well written. And this is my shit, my trauma, right? It's my attachment to my fears. So I start reading to these guys, and what I'm looking for is to go around the circle and say, do you think it's good? Should I continue? Am I just repeating things I heard from other people? If you're really my friend and it's bad, tell me. And instead of anybody telling me anything, yes or no, they just started going, oh my God, that thing you said about how resentment only hurts you. I never thought about that. I've been carrying resentment with like 100 people all my life. And when you gave the metaphor of it's like a bowling ball in your backpack, I was like, I could fucking chuck that bowling ball and lighten my. And I was like, you know what? Let's write down all the resentments on a paper and burn it right here in front of everybody. And we found power in the group, right? So guys would share, and then I would give them some feedback because they would relate it to something they're currently going through, something that's heavy on their heart. And in the first meeting, some guy shares about being sexually abused, something men never fucking share about. Even when they share about everything, they don't share about that. That's like the last frontier, you know? And I look around and I go, how many other guys here were sexually abused? And guys put their hands up. And there's like a, oh shit, aha moment. So we're going around the circle. I'm giving feedback to each guy, and I'm good at this because I've been thinking about it and writing about it. And I had a lot of experience in men's meetings in AA. And I saw that in Alcoholics Anonymous or Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous or any other 12-step program, there's always this thing amongst men where men will go a little bit deeper when it's only men. And I recognize this from childhood. And in this case, it was a level of vulnerability that men were willing to show that I had not seen before, even in AA, because we weren't talking about alcohol. We were talking about our hearts and our souls and our fears and our worries. And the fourth guy goes to share. And before I can give him feedback, some other guy just starts giving him feedback. So my ego, the lead singer, whips his head and goes, who the fuck are you talking at my fucking thing here? I didn't say anything. This is my internal voice. And this guy comes out with a bunch of fucking wisdom to help this guy who's helped sharing something really vulnerable. And there's a point of identification there. And then somebody else from across the room says, yeah, I experienced a really similar thing. And how I got through it was this. And I'm thinking, I'll allow this. Let's see where you're going with this, counselor. This became what's now called the Mantorship Circle of Brotherhood. It's been going every Wednesday for 3.5 years in Tulum. It's been over 3,000 men in my house, and I've lived in 10 different places.
Wow.
We have now an app that's launched in the App Store, Mantorship. The logo is a wolf like this. The wolf that's lone wolf is dangerous. You need a pack. Join the wolf pack.
Mhm.
And we've had guys make incredible breakthroughs. We've had guys stop wanting to kill themselves. We've had guys overcome traumas and fears. And here in Tulum, I've attracted this incredible spiritual army of healers and guys who've been trained for 20 years in helping people with deep trauma work, with hypnosis, plant medicine ceremonies. I got 5 guys in my crew who serve ayahuasca. You want to get naked and go crazy in the jungle? Come on down to Tulum. We put on a retreat every couple of months for men now called Man-I Fest. And this is like an immersive thing where it's like you're in the Mayan sweat lodge, you're chanting and singing, we're standing around the fire, you're telling the truth for the first time, you're punching, you're getting punched, you're in the fucking ice bath till you can't take it, you're running up and down the beach in the heat. You got guys pushing you and asking you, what are you letting go of right now? No, really, what are you letting go of? And we push guys out of their comfort zone to where the growth happens. And like, not that anybody should grow anyway. Guys need to follow their drum, And we find the feeling of the old village, of the men gathering. Okay, how are we going to eat this winter, guys? Because on my own, man, I'm a bunch of negative self-talk and limiting self-belief sometimes. It's really easy to slide into that. So where we are today is 2 years ago, I was going through the airport to visit my parents, and I ran into Danny, my drummer from Biohazard's brother, Richie, who is also a drummer, who I also used to be in a band with in Canarsie in like 1984 when I was like, I don't know, 15 or something. And he says, you should call my brother. I'm from Brooklyn. When you fucking break up with somebody, that's bad blood. That's, you know what? If we're not best friends, then fuck you. And all of us were on our separate ways. And I don't think it was personal. I think it was something that, for me, I needed to grow past. I think it was, my dis-ease with the world, my dis-ease with any situation is mine. It's nothing to do with anybody else, But in those days, I don't think I was really accountable for my side of things or able to see myself in the mirror, And having 12 years away from being Evan from Biohazard, an identity that I clung to for 25 years, and probably part of the crash of my midlife crisis is like an identity crisis. Who am I? You asked me. This is the question we're in. Who am I? Man, I'm love, bro. I am positive energy that just wants to lift other people up and raise other people's vibration. Doesn't matter to me if it's in music, if it's in my men's work. My book's going to be out in August. My podcast will be out with the book, Mantorship. We're talking about overcoming as men. We already have a bunch of episodes in the can. Maybe we could talk about sharing some guests. And this week, I'm going to be releasing my fitness app.
Oh, wow.
I spent the last year and a half creating something called Mindful Warrior. I lead a beach workout for the community here. It's free on the beach. We've been doing it for 2.5 years. Sometimes it's 50, 60 people doing burpees on the beach in the sun. It's fucking crazy. But like we get it in, And we push ourselves to be the best versions of ourselves. That's what we do in mentorship. And guys, careers take off. Guys get into healthy relationships. Guys break old patterns. And we have hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. So my mission, why I'm on your podcast today, besides to meet you fine people, is to let the world know my book is coming out, Mentorship. This is a guy. You know what? I'm still debating the subtitles. The only thing that's not finalized. It almost should say like how to be a man.
Yeah.
Because nobody really knows. You know, everybody's got their own definition, and they're not all the same.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean we're going to tell you how to be a man. We're going to tell you how to find your inner fucking man, your mindful warrior, right? And listen, if you're a guy and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you want to get in the best shape of your life, I was a fat bastard at one time in my life. I was eating all the wrong food. Even I was trying to work out. I didn't have the information. And this has become my life study, wellness, and something I'm really passionate about. So I'm going to probably have a press release going out later this week that Mindful Warrior is in the App Store, Mindful Warrior Fitness. And it's for men. It's to help guys who feel as though their best fitness is behind them change their mind that that's the only possibility. And the app is incredible. It gives you a diet, a shopping list, recipes. It literally tells you what to buy in the supermarket, what to eat, and how much. You don't have to think. It shows you I recorded 200 videos of
Oh my God.
every exercise and the motion to show you how to do everything. It's all you have to do is follow this. You don't have to think. The only thing you're responsible for is showing up and putting the effort, right? And it's something that is probably going to be about $100 a month once it's up and running. But for launch, I'm doing $1 a day. It's $30 to $29.95 to sign up for Mindful Warrior. And my vision is millions of men in the Mantorship app sharing their feelings. We took the Circle of Brotherhood meeting that we do here in my house in Tulum. We took that meeting into our app. So we have a live. Today is Sunday, and I told you, Bernie, and I'm sorry we were disconnected. I was traveling yesterday, and I needed to disconnect for a little while. We have our Circle of Brotherhood meetings in the app. We have a Stoicism meeting in the app. We have a divorce and breakups and relationships meeting in the app. We have a fatherhood meeting in the app. We have discussion groups for everything from entrepreneurship and AI to fitness and biohacking. And guys, what mentorship really is, this is a club. This is a membership only club. It's only $10 a month to join, by the way, to have unlimited access to all these live meetings. And what mentorship becomes for you, if you're a man, is a board of directors for your life. You know, right now there's 400 or 500 guys in the app. So if I had some strange problem that I didn't know how to solve, and I'm not talking about something you can ask AI, you could ask AI anything, right? But I mean, you know, Bernie, if I knew you went through something really difficult, if I was going, I don't know what to do, I'm going through a blank. I'll tell you what happened today on the meeting. There's a brother in my meeting who just went through esophageal cancer, radiation, chemo, surgery. We were his support system throughout. This went on for a year. His name is Lyle. We go, say his name, Lyle. Mentorship's kind of like Fight Club, spiritual, right?
Yeah.
He goes back to work after being out of work over a year, thought he was going to die. He has a headache. He has a brain tumor. Today, he was on the fucking meeting like this, like a Zoom meeting from the ICU, recovering from brain surgery yesterday. And by the luck of the gods, there was a new brother in our meeting today who defeated cancer twice and had raised 4 kids and was now empty nesting. And for this guy to see this guy, holy fucking shit. Like everything got lighter for everybody.
Yeah.
For the guy who's in the hospital bed fighting for his life to say, hey man, I made it through and you can too.
It's great.
For a lot of people, it's easier to believe we can't do something than we can. And
That's true.
my
Yeah.
idea to help everybody, you know, here's the ripple effect that I want, right? If we get 1 million men in the Mentorship app and all those men become like me, a little bit more mindful, the whole world gets a little bit more mindful. We're not only the biggest part of the suicide rate, I think men are 99% of the violence and the war and the corruption and the kidnapping and the extortion and all the terrible things that people do. But if men rallied around each other like a wolf pack and said, hey, guy over there who's in a gang, who's doing dangerous things, we're not doing that anymore, man. That shit's done. It's cool to be kind. It's cool to be mindful. It's cool to lift people up. That's what being tough is about, is being able to have enough in your tank to give to others, not trying to climb over people or having to feel like you have to bring people down and lift yourself up. It doesn't brighten your light to try to dim somebody else's, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. That's my whole story.
Man, that's deep, man. That's heavy, brother.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with this. We put the band back together. It was kumbaya from the first day. We rehearsed. We played about 180 or 200 shows in the last year and a half. And we just recorded a brand new album. I don't think we've even announced the title of the album yet. We kind of sneak released the first single, which I know you saw, Forsaken.
Yeah.
We shot that live in Amsterdam on the last show of the tour, where Life Agony was playing right before us, our like childhood friends. And it was amazing. And the response is incredible. Like, I don't know what to say, you know.
It's
The way people are coming at us, like the video got like 100,000 views in like 3 days or 4 days, and there's like 600 positive comments and no bad comments.
That's
And like,
amazing.
and it's a lot of young people who are fans of hardcore that never saw Biohazard.
yeah.
They couldn't have, you know, where they're, wear their Ramones wear their older brother's Ramones t-shirt, you know?
Yeah.
And now with the way the scene is, there's this, I'm feeling this embrace and this love from young bands and kids who grew up like emulating our thing and now have their own thing that's bigger than our thing ever was. I feel like there's a lot of love and embrace coming our way with this. I feel like I'm looking forward because in the last year and a half, we played 30 shows with Megadeth, who incidentally is signed to our new label, Black to Black.
Mm.
And, we played Mission, Ice-T, and Body Count. And we got to play with Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Metallica and Five Finger Death Punch and, name it. It's been a fucking whirlwind and a tornado. But it was really exciting for me to play with some of the young bands like Turnstile.
Wow. Yeah.
And then becoming friends with those guys and finding out like they feel it the same way. It's like
Yeah.
we do the same dance. You know what I mean? Because like mind, body, spirit, man, it's like life is yoga. And when I'm up on stage, I'm not just playing. You see what I do. I'm jumping and singing and dancing and pumping and chugging and whatever I'm doing. But everybody in the band does it together. And now there's an energy and we share it with the crowd. And I didn't know we would be relevant today, but I'll say this, the four of us agree that this is head and shoulders the best album we've ever made. Matt Hyde produced it. Matt's done Slayer and Hatebreed and Cypress Hill, all kinds of interesting bands that kind of reflect our influences. And life feels really, really exciting right now because, I spent 3.5 years writing a book. I never spent that much time doing anything to create one thing. And I'm going to try to release the book without any expectation of how many people are going to buy it. But I'll say this, there's going to be a QR code in the book that gives everybody who gets the book a free month of membership to our app. So when you read for the first time about the idea of the beauty of impermanence, and you go, I never thought about that. Just to celebrate all the temporary things in my life as what they were and be grateful for the opportunity for new things instead of just being upset about all the things that ended.
Yeah.
A lot of people have never thought about that. And it's great when we get into an online circle, and one guy's in Brazil, and one guy's in Peru, and one guy's in New York, and one guy's in Miami, and one guy's in Belgium, and one guy's in France, and one guy's in Africa, and one guy's in Zanzibar. I'm not really sure where that is. I think it's Africa. And men are finding us.
Yeah.
And every day a new man signs in, and I get into the Stoicism meeting. I mean, it's a lot of meetings. We've grown an ecosystem here. And I'll just put this out there. If you're a man and you're going through anything in your life hard, life is hard. You know, I saw this meme the other day. It showed like a really overweight kid, like at gym class, like trying to throw a punch and falling down and being embarrassed. It said, being overweight is hard. Then it showed another kid who was really fit doing dips. It said, being in shape is hard. Choose your hard.
Yeah.
That blew my mind because that's everything. Being poor is hard. If you've ever been really poor, it's fucking hard. Making a lot of money is really fucking hard, right? Choose your heart.
Yeah.
Right? I try to choose the things that involve the output of my work, right? Aligning that with an abundance mindset to not have a poverty mindset.
Yeah. Well, brother, you've been part of Biohazard introduced a new style of music, to me. I was at that age, and it caught on. Other bands did it. You were part of a series that, to this day, every series has taken that Oz, the way they did it, and that's what makes every series. And I really hope what you're doing with mentorship has that same effect, because I just sitting here listening to you, I felt it. I felt what you're talking about, and Lisa's my best friend, and she's heard me come to her a lot, about shit. So,
and you know what? Not a lot of men have a good female best friend that they can feel comfortable to share everything with.
well, this one's very honest. This one right here. So she gives me.
Well, on my screen, she's here, but
yeah, she definitely gives me the honest.
You know what? You know what? Sometimes something comes up that maybe you wouldn't want to tell her.
Yeah,
because you might be.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it might cross it. Okay, sure. So where do you share that?
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's why.
So look what people are taught in the United States. You get a therapist. You get a therapist. Talk to your therapist. Seems like a good idea, right? Therapists are, by law, in no state in America, allowed to give you advice about anything. Mm-hmm. Reflect on all your therapy sessions. Nobody's ever said, you know what you should do? You should leave that abusive partner. No, they watch their words very carefully because they could lose their license and get sued for anything. My uncle is a big psychologist, and he's explained how it works to me. Not that therapy hasn't helped me immensely in my life and doesn't help lots of people, but where are you going to hear the truth? Where are you going to hear from? Not everybody has an Uncle Tony who's going to go, let me tell you, kid, I went through the same thing. I'm 40 years older than you. This happened to me 3 times. And each time, if I could go back, this is what I would have done. I made the mistakes. That's what we do in mentorship. We share our wisdom and our experience, mostly from our mistakes.
Yeah.
My son is a shining example, is that I kind of raised him this way. And as I fucked up hundreds of things in my life, DEFCON 4 all the time, I would look to him and say, learn from my mistakes. You don't have to make this mistake. This was a mistake. And my son is so cool. He's got this long hair. He looks like me at like his age, if I was Latino, and people always ask him, they joke around. They go, how are you such a good kid? Your fucking father's crazy, and he always goes, my pops always told me to learn from his mistakes, so I didn't have to make too many.
Right on, man.
He's a humble kid, and where I stand today, probably, you know, most important thing you could be in the world is probably a good father.
Yeah.
Because when you're a good father to a son or a daughter, you're helping to shape and form a person who's going to be part of this collective consciousness. And whether you like it or not, we're all connected. There you go.
Man.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Anybody who wants to connect with me, they can go to mentorship.com.
Okay.
Follow me on Instagram. I post a lot on my story at Evan Seinfeld. Look for my TikTok coming soon. Working on that. Mentorship Official at Mentorship Official is the Instagram handle. And if you go to the App Store, Google Play Store, you can download both the Mentorship app. You search Mentorship Inc. INC and Mindful Warrior Fitness. You'll see the fist. We have a killer logo. And I'm excited in this next chapter of my life, which I see as connecting the dots between my love for music, my love for touring, my love for, you know, seeing the world and experiencing like all the flavors of life, and bringing mentorship and mindful warrior fitness everywhere I go. Because as soon as I started the tour with Biohazard and we're playing the Chile Metal Fest in Santiago, and there's 60,000 people going to be there at the Movistar Arena, I made a flyer in Spanish and said, "Who wants to come to my Circle of Brotherhood meeting?" Yo, man, 58 people showed up.
Hey.
And dudes who look like you and me with their fucking battle vests and their leather jackets and their mosh pit clothes cry, talk about their feelings of inadequacy. And maybe I'm a good face and voice to be the tip of the spear to tell guys, you know, anything you hang on to, you're choosing to carry. And sometimes you just need to share with another person to be able to let go. And if you don't know who to talk to and you don't have anywhere to go, there's a band of brothers with open arms that we welcome all men.
Right on, man. Some of the best advice I ever got was don't harbor any ill will, because that owns that part of your brain. So I appreciate you being here, man, and talking to us. Like I said, it really, 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 for lack of a better term, moved me. So.
Thank you. I'm glad. You know, it's funny because, you know, now that the record's coming out, a lot of people have been asking me to be on their podcast, or, you know, let's do a live on Instagram or something. And of course, when somebody asks you or somebody sends you a guest, you look to see what is their reach. Is this worth my time? Is this beneficial? But the way I feel about mentorship is very different. You know, if I just reach one guy, that guy could change his whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I've had guys lose 100 pounds with us. You know, I've had guys, you know, who were at the end of their rope, thinking their life was over, become reborn and get in shape and change their lifestyle and move to another country and empower themselves. And I'm just here to tell everybody, man, you can. You
Right
can.
on.
You know, and I doubted myself many times in my life, you know, and one thing's for certain: if you believe you can do something or not, you're right.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so we need to work on our power of self-belief if we want to be impactful people in the world, you know.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure having you. It was an honor for me to have you on here. I've been a fan for a long time. One last question. Our podcast is called "Is Breakfast Included?" And if we were having breakfast, what would you have?
Man, I'm a breakfast eating motherfucker. This is breakfast, okay? My breakfast, typically I eat two-stage breakfast. In the morning, I breathwork, meditation, yoga, only with green tea. Then I eat oatmeal, sometimes sweet potato, but usually oatmeal and fruit, and yogurt, like vegan yogurt that's made from coconut. And then I go to the gym. And then after the gym, the second half of my breakfast, and the more delicious part, is like a spinach and cheese omelet with like I'm living in Mexico, so with like super spicy hot sauce, salsa verde, y aguacate, tomate, brotas, no sé. I try not to eat flour too much, or I mean, I'm from Brooklyn. I used to own a pizzeria. I grew up. Pizzas, except for good pizza, I really don't eat a lot of bread. And I have someone who helps me to make or buy like grain-free bread. I like that, a little crunchy toast for my breakfast. But is breakfast included? That means you've traveled in Europe, because it's not really included in America.
Yeah.
In America, they give you a shit continental breakfast with a bunch of processed foods and sugars and muffins full of preservatives and disgusting sugary juice that gives people diabetes.
Yeah.
Another story for another day, but man, I had you can look at cultures. You want to learn how to eat. Everybody thinks like pizza and pasta makes you fat. Italy's the slimmest country in Europe.
Yeah, I just was in Italy for 10 days and I was like, they eat all this delicious food and look amazing,
Yeah, because you know why? Because they're not eating all the additives and chemicals that you keep
Yeah.
things really traditional and pure, and everything is made with extra virgin olive oil. And if the pasta is pasta, it's made under control environment with one ingredient,
Yeah. And they don't eat early. They don't go out to eat till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's my favorite food culture. So, people ask me a lot about what I eat, and my breakfast is really calculated. And the majority of my protein is probably eggs and nuts. I get some from vegetables and spinach, but it adds up. But there's a really good trending meme I'd love to be in on, because they're like, can you be vegetarian or vegan and still have muscle?
Yeah.
All these people that just normalize, I'm vegetarian for the animals, I'm working, I'm vegan a lot of the time, and man, I love pizza, and it's hard for me to say no to the cheese, but nothing has to die for me to eat,
Right on, brother.
and that wasn't always, I didn't always feel that way. And it's okay to change your mind about anything you want. We have the right as humans to evolve, and let's just hope we're evolving in the right direction.
Yeah.
What's your breakfast?
Pancakes.
We make in my house, we make sweet potato gluten-free pancakes.
Ah.
But I love that movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner, and he gets on you see that?
Yes, I have.
He gets on the phone with the coach from Seattle. It's supposed to be like Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want my 1, my 2, and you get my 3, and you're gonna give them all to me, you pancake eating motherfucker. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway, look for the new album in the fall. I don't have the date. We're shooting music videos right now, and it's really
What's
fucking
the album
exciting
called
time.
again?
No title yet.
Just trying.
I'll tell you what. It's everyone who's heard the whole album says it's like yo man, it's 1993 in a bottle.
It's classic Biohazard, man. The Forsaken, that tune,
The whole album is classic. It's I think it was a bit of a intimidating process, because Matt Hyde, as a producer, we haven't made an album in 15 years. What the fuck are we doing? We're old guys. Everybody plays better than they did before. Everybody's more focused, but we hadn't been together. And he goes, don't overthink this. He goes, just make a Biohazard album. Just do exactly what you do, and don't try to be something else. And we were all like, oh, like it's good enough to do what we do. Good enough. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's cool.
I think with his direction and our like staying true to our roots, I think we have something really special. And I'm excited.
Looking forward to it, bro.
Yeah, well, stay in touch with me. I'll get you the earliest promo I can, brother.
Will do, man. It's a pleasure talking to you, like I said, man. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Right on. Evan Seinfeld, Biohazard, Mantorship. What a cool guy, right? Very interesting. And like he said, he's lived the life of 10 men or 10 lifetimes. He said something like that. It was very, very, very telling. You can find out more about Evan at Evan Seinfeld on Instagram, at Mantorship Official on Instagram, and make sure you check out mindfulwarriorfitness.com. It was a lot of fun catching up with him, man. While you're online, check out isbreakfast.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And this is the exciting part. Go to our shop. New designs, new colors. We have an awesome, what we're calling the purple included shirt that pays a little homage to my favorite band of all time. We have the hot pink Is Breakfast Included t-shirt, both designs that everyone saw Simon Le Bon casually wearing last week. Plus, we've added toddlers onesies and kids t-shirts. So go check them out. Support us. Buy some shirts. All right, guys, I'm done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.